Hello, my name is Carla Fernandes, and welcome to Afrolis Videocast, the place where we speak to Black and racialized women from all over the world for us to inspire ourselves and help us keep moving forward. My guest today is Armaghan Chamkanai. Welcome, Armaghan.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Armaghan is a political and women's rights activist, author, and poet, and motivational speaker, and a proud mother from Afghanistan. Armaghan has been living in Portugal as a refugee for almost 2 years after the collapse of the government in her country due to Taliban takeover. As a politician from the previous government, she could not stay under the new government, which she considered to be a terrorist group. Thank you so much for being here and being willing to share your experience with us.
Thank you so much, Carla, for having me. It's really a great pleasure to be with you all here.
So let's start off by a question, which is what was your life like before the takeover of the government by the Taliban in Afghanistan?
Um, Afghanistan women, uh, if you look at the background of our country, since very long time we are like being involved with different situations, specifically women in Afghanistan. But what I say is the last 20 years in Afghanistan was in my opinion, it was actually a bright period of time for us. We had a lot of opportunities. We had a great time. We had of course, we were at that time also we were like in a very big political and political conflict with this group, which is now on the power in Afghanistan. But
Which
back,
period are we talking about in terms of years?
it's from 2001 up to 2021, which is the date of the collapse of our government. So at this period of time, when the first period of Taliban collapsed, I was at the primary classes of my school. And then during after that time, we had almost a very long time, almost 20 years. We had a lot of opportunities. Of course, we had some difficulties, like we were in a very big conflict with this terrorist group, but still we had the opportunity to go to school, to work, to make our careers, to speak for our rights, to raise our voices. We had actually everything. So during this time, it was not easy. I can't say that everything was so good, so peaceful as the young generation are having that opportunity here in Portugal. But still, we had some rights. Like I did, whatever I did was at this back 20 years from when the first government of Taliban collapsed. It was 2001, and from that time until 2021, I did my primary school, I did my higher education, I entered politics, and I was candidate for parliament, and we were all the girls and boys of my generation. We all had the opportunity to speak, to raise our voice. Actually, we had a great time. Everything was fine, but
This is
at the end,
interesting because
yeah,
my follow up question was really like because we in the West we have this idea that women in Islamic countries have it hard in terms of freedoms. And I wanted to ask you if it was a full statement of, or tell us about the misconceptions that we have integrated in the way that we look at reality
yeah,
when we think about
yeah,
Islamic countries and women. But when you say we had a great time,
yeah,
you talked about education, so you
yeah,
had education
yes,
opportunities,
yeah,
but some of our myths as well, in relation to freedom of movement of women, marriage, and all of these things. Some are not myths, no.
yeah,
But there are also exceptions to the rules. There are
yeah,
flexibilities, probably, to some of the rules
yeah.
that we here in the West sometimes take it as something that is not negotiable.
Hmm. Yeah, Afghanistan as a country which is being involved with different kind of wars for almost 4 decades. Of course, this is not easy for a society to digest. You know, the very big issue nowadays and previously, which was in Afghanistan, is extremism. Extremism about like Taliban are now forcing the women to stay at home to not study, to not be involved in politics. But I know here in Portugal and other countries, most of the people are having that idea that Afghanistan, the society inside Afghanistan, is the way that they don't want the women to have their own image in the society. But actually, this is not the truth. You know, Afghanistan have been involved with war, and that's not easy. Of course, we had a group of people that they were like they had their own issues about the women freedom, women education, women rights, and everything. But a large number of people in Afghanistan have been like very supportive for their daughters, for their girls. Back 20 years, we had like every day we had different bomb blasts, suicide attacks, kidnapping, harassment, everything we had. But still we had the opportunity to go to school, to work, to raise our voices. And we all that was the only hope that we had. We were working for our country's future. We were working very hard. Every was like one was involved in this situation. Sometimes when I see girls here in Portugal, or they are going to school, they are going to university, and they are like chilling, they are being so peaceful, and then I think about the days which I was in university. Maybe it was 2011, 12, 13, 14, and 2014 was also one of the most like difficult years for us, because there were also some political changes in Afghanistan due to the US decision that they were thinking to take some of their troops out of Afghanistan. So at those time, there was like most of the universities were under attack of Taliban. And when we were in the university in the class, and we were sitting there, and during our lectures, when somebody were like closing the door a little bit harder, we were like, oh, maybe a group of suicide attackers came inside, because this was happening before. And my university was also targeted, because there was girls and boys who were studying together. Overall, Taliban are having a very big issue and problem with women who are studying, who are speaking, who knows their own rights, their most of all their Islamic rights. And that's why they have been always targeting women in different sectors, like in universities, in schools, even in maternity hospitals. Like we were always like alert, maybe a group of attackers came inside, and we have never ever been like had that peaceful feelings with us. And when I see people here, I know that they are having that peaceful feeling, and that peace, that inner peace we never had, because of this Taliban terrorist group. But still we had that hope that, okay, one day the situation will be very good, and we will reach to the peace, everything will be fine. And we are studying, we are working, we are having our own image in the society. But we've never been expecting this situation to happen, like
Yeah,
what
but
happened.
and
Yeah.
for you, how was it for you to get into politics?
Oh.
And why did you go into politics? And how was it for you as a woman to
Yeah.
function, if your voice was heard, if you could share your opinions, if you also contributed for some significant change, or the
Yeah.
groups that you worked with?
Yeah. Um, for me, to enter politics, to overall to go to parliament was like it wasn't an easy decision, of course, as other women in Afghanistan. And obviously, I was not the first one of the first women who were there before me. We had women in the parliament, in politics, that they already paved the way for us to be more relaxed in this situation, in this area. But what I it was difficult for me, because first it started from my own family. My father, he was like always thinking that it's not easy. Are you sure? Do you want to do this? Um,
What was he worried about?
uh, because the society, everything is coming. First of all, the security, because all the politician women, men, everybody were under attack of Taliban. The other thing, that the society and the judgment and everything that is coming across you, it was not easy for our society to accept women. First of all, to put your photographs, your posters around the city, to upload your photographs in social media, to go to the people, to speak about your agendas, about what is your planning to go to parliament. It was not easy. Everybody around me were worried, specifically my father. And then and I had the most a supportive person beside me, which was my husband, and he has been always supportive for me. And he was like, "If you really want to do this, so you can do it." I
Because it's a family matter. At the end, everybody in your
Yes.
family is involved.
Yes, everybody, because it was like still my family member are suffering this because of my image, because of my political image. And then and finally I decided, okay, so I am going to accept all these difficulties, all these problems, all the challenges which is coming toward me. And then I decided to do this. It was not easy, and I remember for the first time I announced uh, to be a candidate for the parliamentary election. But before that, I was politically active. I was writing articles, political articles about the situation. As since I start my university, higher education, I start being involved, speaking, going to attending different protests, raising my voice for women's rights. And then I was working with some programs which were like international NGOs from around the world supporting women in Afghanistan. I was part of those activities, and but the main point at my political career is being a candidate for parliament, and that was not easy, and that is still not easy.
Which were some of the issues that you pushed through within your agenda, political agenda, and this more formal
Yeah,
political activism
yeah. Um,
or action?
Yeah, and I remember when I prepared my agenda, and I was like, when we had our campaigns, when we had our gatherings, speaking with people, specifically with the youth, different groups. So we had to have our agenda, and the main thing that I really wanted to focus on that is was women's rights, education rights, and harassment. Harassment exists so much in Afghanistan.
Harassment?
Harassment,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
So I really wanted to work on that part, specifically women's
The
rights,
sexual
education,
harassment
sexual
or
harassment.
general? Yes.
General harassment exists also, but sexual harassment were also there because as a woman, it was not for us easy to walk anywhere, anytime we wanted to go. And that's why that was the main point that I really wanted to work on that. I really wanted the girls and the women who wanted to walk in the streets, wanted to go to school, wanted to do their daily activities to be more comfortable, to be more relaxed when they are walking. This is something that I really wanted to work on that, and also women's rights and rights of education, rights of marriage, rights of having access to different services, health services, maternity services, and some other things which were all limited for women in my country.
The rights of marriage, you say, is the rights of a choice of
Choice of marriage, yeah.
choosing a partner or not choosing a partner at all.
Uh,
Being single, for instance.
I mean, being single, yeah, both. I mean, if it's traditionally and according to our religion, mostly the marriages happens in between two families. Mostly the families decided. What I wanted to speak about was that they should ask their daughter, do you really want to do this, or if you don't want to do this. So in most cases the girls never ever know the person that they are going to get married. So this is something which was not easy, and this is now at that time, like for 20 years, everybody working, giving awarenesses, and it was like improved. We had our achievements in this area, but now everything just finished, and then we went back to 100 years back. So what I want to speak about rights of having a choice in marriage is that to discuss with the girl, do you really want to do that, or you don't want to have your own choices? Yeah.
And now you are in the position of a refugee and a
Yeah.
woman. And normally, refugees, women, children, elderly people are often the most vulnerable in the situations.
Yeah.
What is your experience as an observer?
Yeah.
Because I think that you had a different experience. You came with your family, with your husband, and with your children, and
Exactly.
you went directly to your a private apartment. So you had a different experience.
Yeah.
But as someone that is an activist, you probably are involved
Exactly.
with the refugees here
Yeah.
in order to help them. So, as an observer,
Yeah.
what have you observed here
Yeah.
that are like the main issues with the
Yeah.
refugees, not only from Afghanistan, maybe you have
Overall.
contact with other refugees as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Whenever I speak about being a refugee, I I normally feel something here which makes me more emotional. I hope I don't get emotional here because it's not and it hasn't been so easy for me to handle this because it was not my choice. And then I feel sometimes that how I left my country was like this, that somebody come and take you from your arms and push you to go out. It was something like this which happened to me. This was not my decision at all. I have never ever been thinking of like one day I'm going to leave Afghanistan, I'm going to go to another country, I start everything from zero, I'm going to be involved in new things, and then I'm going to be thinking about integration in a new society. Um, yeah, it was not easy since I came to Portugal. Overall, I found Portugal a very nice place and very good people, very supportive people. Um, Refugees overall are having, when I'm speaking, it's mostly in my case, it was easier because I had the chance to come directly to Portugal and to go to my apartment. I start my life normally, but there are a large number of refugees which they are coming from around the world, specifically from my country, which they are going to Iran, Turkey, and then they cross all the way. They cross the ocean and then they come to Greece and they spend long years in refugee camps in Greece. And when they come to European countries, not only Portugal, other European countries, they think that, okay, all the problems that we were facing, that we were struggling, is now finished. But no, it's not like that. According what I experienced being involved with refugees here in Portugal is that their problems actually starts when they enter a new European country because there are a lot of barriers waiting for them. The first thing is the language. Of course, the language is a very big barrier, and these European languages are not being spoken much in Afghanistan. A lot of people, especially the young generation in Afghanistan, can speak in English, but like Portuguese, like Deutsch, like for example, French,
French.
yeah, Italian. These are some languages that are not being spoken back in Afghanistan, and we actually don't know. And at my case, it's 2 years that I'm studying Portuguese and still I speak uma pouco Portuguese. So that's why the big barrier for all the refugees are the language. And of course, the government has been like taking an initiative to give them Portuguese classes, which is very good. And the government are supporting the refugees for them to go to and study the Portuguese language. But what I believe is that this is not easy to handle with that. I'm speaking about a group of refugees which are coming from Afghanistan. Like most of them are coming from the places of countryside, like from the villages, districts, and most of them are not educated, well educated. They only can communicate with their own language, which is Farsi and Pashto from our country, and so that's why with that primary and basic education that they are having, studying a new language is will be not easy. And for the refugee families who are also here in Portugal, which they are here with their families, they are all having babies, they are having kids, and like having access to different services like health service, social services, and education services. These are also something that they are also being like they are struggling with this. But overall, I think the situation of refugees here in Portugal are much better than other places because I know there are some rule and regulations which is completely different from the rule and regulations in my country. Like for example, in hospitals, in health sector, this is completely different with our country. But still they are being in a good condition, and we are so thankful for the government and for the associations that they are working in this area and they are giving these services to my people from Afghanistan. But I think if they can a little bit work on racism, which is also being here in Portugal and some other European countries. I mean, this is something that the racism is not something that you feel it or you get it when you go to a department or somewhere. It exists everywhere, and maybe when you are using a public transport, so
Yes.
you can face racism. When you are walking to the street, you can face this problem, but. Exists everywhere. It exists everywhere. It's normal, but here in
It shouldn't be
Portugal,
normalized. It's normal, but yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah, in
yeah,
the
of
sense
course,
that it
yes, of course.
happens.
No, 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 it shouldn't be normal. Yeah, it exists everywhere. What I'm trying to say is that it exists everywhere, but here in Portugal also, I am speaking in the case of other refugees, a group of big refugees. In my case, everything was so easy because I can handle everything because I speak at least the language English. But there are a lot of refugees that they don't speak any of these languages, and then they get to face to this racism, different kind of aid. So if the countries, I mean, refugees and the crisis are something very serious nowadays overall in the world, and if the countries are trying to host more refugees, they should give these awarenesses to the people in the cities and everywhere to be more prepared to welcome these people, to let them to integrate the new society, to accept them in the way they are, because it's not easy for them to learn Portuguese in 6 months, in like 1 year,
And
and
it's
then
not, sometimes it's not only the language, it's
it is
also the
not only
culture, the
the
customs,
culture. Yes,
how
yeah,
to
of course,
be in certain places,
of
what
course,
time you should be there,
yeah.
how. So it's very difficult to
It's
adapt as
difficult. For
well.
example, when they are going to the hospital, it's not like, it shouldn't be like this, that the people in hospital start speaking in Portuguese and putting pressure on those refugees, and they don't try to communicate with them, right? So
Yes.
and if you put yourself at the place of those refugees, and you can understand that maybe they are sick, maybe their babies are sick, maybe their kids are sick, and then at that, like under that depression, and again they're receiving this kind of treatment from people in hospitals, for example. So that won't be easy. It's not, it's something that really create problems for people here in all European countries. This is what I have been experiencing, and I have been hearing from people here in Portugal, from refugee families. Yes.
Yes, and also in terms of culture,
Yeah.
I participated in one discussion with Renovar a Moraria. You
Ah.
probably know this
Yeah. Yeah.
organization, and they were talking about the possible existence of cultural translators. For instance, in some countries, family members are large, the larger family.
Yeah. It's
So
normal.
if in the hospital they say only family members and they only count with the husband or with
Mm.
the wife, and then in a country, family member is the uncle of the uncle of the uncle, that person could also be
Yeah.
there to accompany
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
person that is sick,
Understand.
for
Yeah.
instance. And that's very interesting to observe as well, especially for pregnant women. The way that sometimes we are treated. I also speak from experience of observing how sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they're shouting at the women who are suffering and don't understand the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's also interesting in the sense of this idea that I heard with the Renovada Moraria
Yeah.
of cultural
Yeah.
translators
Of
or
course.
a figure like this, for instance. But
Yeah,
talking
this
about this,
cultural shock, it will be a cultural
yes,
shock for people which they are coming. It's not only Afghanistan, countries around Afghanistan like India, like Bangladesh, like Pakistan, they are coming. When they are coming to the European countries, it's a completely different culture. But also what I really consider the very big barrier for people here is the language, and specifically for women who are pregnant. Of course, you know how we feel when we are at that situation. We expect kindness,
yes,
happiness. We expect a very nice environment and everywhere, and we expect everyone to be nice with us. And if somebody is shouting on you, people prefer to die at home and not to go there back. So if the countries really want to host more refugees, and they really want to give them a safe place for them, for their children, for their future generation, this is something to be more, they have to be focused on this. And then it's not like that the refugees are like expecting everything to be in their own favor, and they expect that all the world should be like giving them all the opportunities. But what they are expecting is that they are leaving their home back there, and they are coming all the way with all those problems, with all those challenges to an European country, is that they really want to be safe. They want their children to study. They want their own life to be well settled. So that's the reason, yeah.
And here in Portugal, do you also participate in organizations in terms of activism?
No, not really. Since I left Afghanistan, I have been politically active for my country. I've been speaking, attending like different TV shows. I have been in social media. I have been speaking for the women's rights and the education rights and everything like online for my country. But here in Portugal, not really. Yeah.
But do you think that there are organizations that also tackle these issues, enough organizations that tackle these issues as well?
Um, as I told you before, at the beginning, I was thinking that that there are not more social works in terms of having activism here in Portugal. At the beginning, I was thinking it's very limited, but after passing some time and visiting people, seeing like friends like you around, I understand that yeah, there are enough organization that they are working in this specific area, and they are having there are a lot of people who are being activists here. I recently met them, yeah.
And women's rights still have a long way to go to be fully respected. What do you think is lacking in general? Because we don't only talk about like lacking of women's rights in Afghanistan, but all over the world. In the US, it's happening. They're also
Mm,
trying to regulate how women dress.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. For
so,
me, what I want to say about women's rights is, as somebody who have been involved in this area, is to have that ability to accept yourself as a woman. Like as a woman, you accept yourself, your inner peace, your inner thoughts, and your existence in a world full of barriers and limitations. That is the women's rights. If like there is no expectations from you to manage yourself and according to their thoughts, then you have your own rights. To let you to accept yourself as a woman. For me, this is something that I believe. Like as a if you see, men can do anything they want, and I want that for women also. To I know that there are some limitations for everyone. Like if I speak about women in Afghanistan, we have something that I really I don't want to cross those limits. Like what I believe is in Afghanistan as a woman, as I feel I was one of those women that I could accept myself as a woman in my country, and I can say that I have all my rights. And then, as an example of myself, I respect my culture. I follow my religious thoughts, and as a woman, I believe that I'm a woman. So if you are having some of your limitation, which is more healthy and not causing you more difficulties and problems, so that's okay. But still, women's rights is accepting yourself as a woman.
accepting yourself, but imagine if the society doesn't see you
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
as
point of the
worthy
struggle. Yeah,
of.
that's the point of the struggle. Like in Afghanistan, nowadays Taliban are like I know since they came to the power, they are being like issuing different restrictions. As soon as they arrive, they just close the doors of school, and it's almost 2 years that the young generation, the girls, are not going to school. And then just imagine 2 years, it's a very long time they're being like away from education, and they're teenager girls like 10, 9, and they're not allowed to go to school. And then the another restriction was just they asked the women who are working in different sectors in government just to stay home, and if you have a male at your house, you can send instead of yourself. And then they closed like all the women markets. Recently they closed the beauty salons, which like a large number of women were working in this area and they were supporting their families, and this was like a very big help for their financial support. So they closed that, they closed universities, even women who were working with international NGOs, especially with UN. So there are like 100 kinds of restrictions for women in my country. And then I'm afraid that one day they were going to ask women to stop breathing, to stop
Yes,
being
a human
alive.
being, of
A
course.
human being. They do not consider a woman as a human being. They look at women as a machine, just to marry, just to bring children as much as they want until the age of 14, and then after that you expire and you die, and then they're going to marry another one, and most of those kids should be boys. Otherwise you will be treated like a furniture at home, you know. So this was when we say that when I say that I was a women's rights activist, this was something that this thought, this belief was something that we were fighting with for back 20 years. We were raising our voice, but we had the freedom of speech. We were speaking in TVs, we had different TV shows, we were speaking at the street, we were writing social media, I was writing different articles which were publishing, I was criticizing the government, and we were asking for more support, for more help. We had the help of the world, and then suddenly everything stopped, and we had a lot of achievements also, because we had schools in different countryside places, like in different areas, but suddenly at one point everything just finished, and just like boom, and everything just gone. And then yeah, there is no human rights, there is no women's rights now in Afghanistan. There is nothing. Only a group of uneducated terrorist men came from the mountains, and they want to do whatever they want. They are doing whatever they want now.
So, what is your advice to women in Afghanistan and probably also to women all over the world regarding the pursuit of their rights?
What I really expect from women around the world about their rights is that to be more strong in their own position. If you believe in something as a woman, try to never ever change your belief. Stand at your own place. Whatever you believe, just stay on there. And for women in my country, uh, I just want to tell them that I really love you, and I am like, whenever I think about women in my country, I can't control my tears. And I wish one day I could go back to my country. I could go to the streets and see all those schools, girls who are going to school, and hug them. And it, you just can't imagine what the situation is for the women in my country. I really, really expect the women around the world to stand with us, to stay with us, to be our voices, and to help us to speak for the rights of women in my country. And I really expect the world to hear our voices, to help us to improve the situation which is now in Afghanistan. You just can't imagine. I mean, they are arresting women, they are killing women, they are force marrying them, they are like whatever they want, they're just doing now with the women at my country, and nobody is just, and the world is just silent, just watching them. It's like it's being recorded, it's being published, everybody is seeing, we are speaking, like my generation, girls and boys from my generation, everyone is like speaking, raising their voice, using any platforms which they have access, but still the world is just silent and listening to them, and just helping them and trying to engage with Taliban, which is very disappointment, and a very big insult for all the struggles we had. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thank you
hope.
so much. Now this is normal. This is normal, and I hope that the world does listen to your appeal and to the appeal of
yeah,
other women in Afghanistan, and
yeah,
that people really support the cause
yeah.
because it's like a human rights cause.
Yeah, I didn't want it to cry. I was hoping that okay, this true, this won't happen, but it happens. Whenever I speak about women in my country and I speak about the situation in my country, that makes me very emotional because it's not easy. It's not easy. We lost everything. We literally lost everything. And we have nothing at that country now. We have nothing.
That is why it is so important to listen to people like you, to share these experiences
Yeah,
as well here in Afrolis and everywhere that people can listen to
yeah.
and have access and maybe do something if they can,
Oh, I hope so.
even if it's just sharing,
Of
the
course,
stories that
of
are
course.
being
Yeah.
told. No? So
Yeah,
thank you so
thank you
much,
so much for
Armaghan,
having me. It was a
for
very
being
great
here.
to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to us, being here with us. My name is Carla Fernandes. Do follow our videos in social media, do share and subscribe. See you next time.